These are twice as wide as I remember. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Farmers Branch regular City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. The time is 6:01 p.m. We will begin with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Williams.
If you'll please stand. Let us pray silently together, each of us according to our individual beliefs. As we gather here today as members of Farmers Branch City Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our services to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next up is our ceremonial items. The first one is a presentation of a proclamation designating the month of October 2021 as Fire Prevention Month in Farmers Branch. So, Ms. Kempton, the entire team, Chief, Deputy Chiefs, you all get recognized today. You brought this beautiful truck on over. Proclamation for Fire Prevention Month. Whereas the City of Farmers Branch is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,770 people in the United States in 2019, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and the fire departments in the United States responded to 339,500 home fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to the danger in the event of a fire in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas Farmers Branch residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas the 2021 Fire Prevention Month theme, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety, effectively serves to remind us it is important to learn the different sounds of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Now, therefore, I, Robert Dye, Mayor for the City of Farmers Branch, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Fire Prevention Month throughout Farmers Branch, and I urge all people of Farmers Branch to learn the sounds of fire safety and support the public safety activities and efforts of the Farmers Branch Fire Department.
All right, thank you. I just real quickly wanted to say a couple of things because I kind of wanted to let you know what we had going on at the fire department. COVID kind of slowed things down a little bit, so we haven't been able to get out into the public as much as we wanted, but as of 2 weeks ago, we started getting back out into the community, and we get to get out and go to the schools. We're not doing it at the level that we want to, but next year we're really looking forward to bringing back our poster contest. I'm sure many of you are aware of the poster contest that we've done for 25 years. So we've really missed that, and getting back and doing hands-on CPR and just all the wonderful programs that we have. So we're really looking forward to getting back and doing that. I also want to let you know during COVID, we had to get our message out in a different way. So like a lot of other people, we use Facebook and videos, things like that, YouTube, to get our message out. Well, we got a really good response from it. So we're going to continue with that. So I'm hoping that all of you will go and check out our Farmers Branch Fire Department Facebook page and be sure to like us. Right.
So next is E2, a presentation of a proclamation designating the month of October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Farmers Branch. Chief Hale, or as some people in the city know you as Dale. That's right. So a proclamation from the city of Farmers Branch, Domestic Violence Awareness. Whereas domestic violence is a serious, widespread, and hidden societal problem that affects 10 million adults in the United States each year, regardless of race, age, and income, and as many of 1 in 4 women are victims of domestic violence. And whereas abuse causes long-term damaging effects on the health and well-being of victims and their families, friends, and communities, and children who witness domestic violence or are targeted in domestic violence become socialized into believing violence and abuse is normal and are at greater risk of perpetuating the cycle of violence. And whereas the Farmers Branch Police Department has served over 268 victims of domestic violence this past year. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides a coordinated community effort for citizens to learn about preventing domestic violence and to support organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy, services, and assistance to victims. Therefore, I, Robert C. Dye, Mayor of the City of Farmers Branch, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 is Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Farmers Branch, and ask the people of Farmers Branch to join me in raising awareness of domestic violence prevention and recognize the courage and inspirations of survivors, community leaders, police, judges, healthcare workers, and advocates who are working on solutions to end domestic violence.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. The thing that I also want to say is, there's a lot of victims associated with this. It is hidden, but I want to say thank you to my brave men and women who go into some very volatile situations and do the best that they can possibly do to resolve those circumstances. Oftentimes, in their own peril, because these are such volatile situations. So thank you to the men and women of the Farmers Branch Police Department for serving these 268 victims and doing it valiantly.
So next is consider acceptance of a donation of $1,000 from Starwood Cafe to the Farmers Branch Fire Department and take appropriate action. And so I guess the kind of backstory here was I was dining at Starwood Cafe a few weeks ago and had a nice conversation with the manager on site, and they said they wanted to do something for our Farmers Branch Fire Department and graciously offered to write a check for $1,000. So just so thankful that they've not only come into the city of Farmers Branch and what they provide to our residents in terms of another option for eating, but the fact that they've ingrained themselves into our community by recognizing, different needs and are willing to support, our fire department. And so we're just thankful for that. And before we can accept this dollar amount, I need a motion and approval from council. So does anyone have a motion? I can make it. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I move to approve the acceptance of $1,000 from Starwood Cafe for the Farmers Branch Fire Department.
Second.
I'm going to go with Councilmember Merritt. He's closer for the second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Just want to thank y'all. Hopefully y'all can put it to good use. Appreciate it. Next is our report on study session items, which will be led by Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a very robust, very thoughtful conversation during our study session. I encourage everyone to go to farmersbranchtx.gov under Agendas and Minutes tab to review the full video. I'll briefly and quickly tell you what we addressed on our A1 regular agenda items. Councilmember Merritt and Councilmember Lynn had a couple of just clarifications on our consent agenda, and we were able to move forward with that. Councilmember Lynn asked that we move I-7 to a regular agenda item and move it off of consent so that we could discuss it during the regular council meeting. For A2, we received a biannual report from our Parks and Recreation report from Bob Stewart. Membership and visits across our amenities have almost completely recovered from the dips related to COVID. Our rentals have grown from $13,000 to over $300,000 a year in less than 4 years for all of our event spaces. The events that we held were very successful, including our Independence Day event, our Denton Drive Lives with over 6 events, and many, many more. We are hoping in the future to add a sand volleyball court and to start our signature park improvements. And we are improving our systems with our Parks Department as well. Councilmember Rotano wanted some assurance that the soccer fields were going to be added on Montgomery, and wanted to find out what happened with the old equipment, which there were a variety of different ways that we resolved the equipment usage. And she had a question regarding the water feature in our dog park, and if there was a way that we could fence that off for our larger animals that their owners did not want them to get wet. So Councilmember Lynn had a question on the Orangewood baseball fields being used for soccer practice, and he was concerned with that. Councilmember Driscoll and myself just wanted to make sure that the amenities through our Parks and Rec department are not always monetized, and that we would like to see picnic tables added to the Montgomery plans as well. On A3, we discussed our Camelot landfill operations. Shane Davis gave us a very complete idea of what was going on. It was very thorough. I definitely encourage all of our residents to go and view the entire video, because there's lots and lots of different areas that are something that our citizens should be proud of and excited about with our landfill. It's not every day that you get to be excited about trash, but if you review that video, you will be. So just a couple of things that I wanted to point out. The life of our site is through the Camelot landfill is slated for 2042. I did not know that landfill gas is sold for energy, that with quite a substantial contribution to the city's overall revenues. I think it was something over $200,000 a year. I didn't know that you could sell garbage gas, but you can. So, we have $88 million that is going to, that's what our net value for Camelot is going to add to our fiscal life for the city, after all of the expenses have been paid, including our post-closure costs. And so after it closes, to have netted $88 million is pretty significant, and I think that's something that we should all be proud of. Our A4, we talked about the city council calendar, and dates were set. I asked that the National Night Out be moved back to the first Tuesday of October per citizen requests. A5, we discussed our board and commission appointments. That was also a very robust discussion, so I encourage everyone who's interested in boards and commissions to view the video. And our final A6, we discussed our future agenda items. Councilmember Lynn wants a report of the number of rental properties in the city. And with that, Mayor, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Next is the mayor and city manager's report on items of community interest. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Mayor. The Great Pumpkin Splash is a fun, family-friendly event for kids of all ages with a pumpkin decorating challenge and a fall-themed photo op. Join us at the Margaret Young Natatorium October 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The next Farmers Branch shredding event will also be Saturday, October the 23rd from 9 a.m. to noon at City Hall. It's intended for sensitive personal documents, particularly tax or bank statements. No binders, magazines, or junk mail will be accepted. Participants may be required to show proof of residency. An intimate celebration of the Day of the Dead is set for October 28th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at the Historical Park. See a variety of altars at several historic structures as you encounter spirits from the past. Visitors are welcome to leave a photo or memento behind to honor a loved one. Farmers Branch's annual Halloween event, Halloween in the Park, returns to the Farmers Branch Historical Park on Saturday, October the 30th from 5 to 10 p.m. Join us at the Historical Park as it transforms into a Halloween spectacle that has plenty of family-friendly activities and candy. It's free for residents with a Boo Pass and $5 for non-residents ages 4 and up. Download FBTX Connect, the new Farmers Branch app for your Apple or Android cell phone. It's quick and easy. The new app allows residents a direct mobile way to communicate with City Hall, report a concern, learn about events, or sign up for the branch bulletin with just a few quick clicks. Visit fbconnect.com. Coronavirus infections and hospitalizations continue to drop this week after a spike in summer cases fueled by the highly contagious Delta variant of the virus. Still, our city's health officials urge everyone 12 and over to get vaccinated. For more details, go to dallascounty.org/COVID-19. And finally, the city held a very successful Viva event recently. It was the first annual Hispanic Heritage Month, and the Viva event was in celebration of that. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to Councilwoman Rotano to give a brief recap.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. We are now at the end of our Hispanic Heritage Month, and I just wanted to take a moment of personal privilege to give a quick recap on our Viva Farmers Branch event. It was an event that a number of individuals have been wanting to do for a very long time, especially with our city now being majority minority. And so I just wanted to give a quick recap. We had over 900 visitors to our event that was held at the Grove. We asked folks to submit a survey as they were leaving by household. We have over 101 households that submitted a survey. And 62 of those households were from Farmers Branch, and 39 were actually from not around Farmers Branch. And some of the comments that we received is there aren't enough events like this across our region, especially north of 635. So I just wanted to thank specifically Jeffrey Fairchild, Megan Bernard, and Sandy Carter with our special events teams. You all don't know how much work goes into putting on Denton Drive Live and these types of events. So just wanted to take a moment of personal privilege to really thank them and also all the volunteers. Since it was our first event, it was also a volunteer-led event. And so just really excited for more events like this to come. One of the three biggest things that we got from the event and the survey was that they wanted more music, a longer event, and more events that were catered to our Hispanic community. So I also want to thank council for supporting us in this effort to make this happen. And with over 900 visitors, I'm sure we're going to make it an even bigger event next year. So thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias a todos los que asistieron a nuestro evento en conmemoración de nuestra celebración del mes hispano. Y con más de 900 personas estamos muy emocionados que podamos hacer este evento cada año. So muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much, and thank you, council, for your support. Now I'll turn it over to Mayor Dye.
Thank you, Councilmember Rotano. Next is our citizen comments. There is a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. No disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed to any member of city council or staff will be allowed. We have one person to sign up to speak tonight, David Frink. Just name and address, please.
Evening. My name is David Frank, 13608 Onyx. First of all, I want to thank each of you for your dedication and service to our community known as Farmers Branch. You all do wonderful work. My comments tonight address the RV Parking and Storage Ordinance Council is scheduled to discuss. During the August 3rd, 2021 council meeting, Councilwoman made the following statement. This bit about boats, campers, RVs, and trailers that will be addressed at another time. As I stated in the report and study session, I'm working on an ordinance to bring forward at some point in time, have council discussion on that, so we're currently working on that. But regardless, my concerns aren't so much for public safety, because I think we handle that public safety very well. They're more the aesthetics, and that's what gets on people's nerves, is the aesthetics of having to look at some of the stuff they don't find appealing or beneficial to their neighborhood. This focus on aesthetics should be very concerning. By the very definition of the word, aesthetics of or related to art and beauty, and Councilwoman's statement, aesthetics are appreciated or not by the one looking at it. This begs the question, who would establish proper or acceptable aesthetics? City Council, task force? How would aesthetics be ordinance be enforced? Where would the pursuit of acceptable aesthetics in our city end? In discussing this issue with friends and residents at Farmers Branch, each one has a different pet peeve or something not pleasing to them. The list ranges from minivans to Teslas to wood fences, chain link fences, solar panels, gray brick houses, and white BMWs. We agree there should be a minimum standards for public safety, including proper maintenance of homes and businesses. This helps ensure equitable property values of our homes and commercial properties. However, it seems that in pursuing this ordinance of aesthetics, Council would be vastly overreaching the basics by setting standards equal to an HOA covenants and deeds restrictions, none of which the city residents have agreed to. My understanding, there's approximately 32 RVs that can be seen from a street of 35,000 people, and 2 complaints to code enforcement in the last year. From the number of complaints, it does not appear to be a pressing issue with the neighbors of these RVs. As far as comments regarding affected property values of homes near RVs, does the city have any evidence of property values being lowered by these 32 RVs? It's certainly not reflected in my own increasing tax appraisal with an RV in my own driveway. The city is an oasis in the DFW Metroplex. One of my favorite things to do is ride around and see the different houses. And we've got old homes, we've got mid-century homes, we've got new homes that are being built. It's the diversity here that makes this place so special. It's not cookie cutter, brown brick, brown roofs, one tree in the front yard. It's a beautiful city. So I strongly urge this council to proceed carefully with any ordinances based solely on personal interpretation of aesthetics that would in effect criminalize one's expression. From art to automobiles, aesthetics is in the eye of the beholder, and one man's trash is another man's aesthetics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move that we move I-7 to the regular agenda and also move to approve the consent agenda for the rest of the items as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rotano.
Second.
Driscoll beat you this time, buddy. I've got a second by Councilmember Driscoll. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next is J1 in our public hearing section. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3704 for a specific use permit and associated detailed site plan for open storage on an approximate 10.66 acre property located at 4721 Simonton Road and take appropriate action. Mrs. Sin.
Barbecue will open on the city's east side, the third barbecue operator in this part of town. So will Farmers Branch become the newest barbecue capital of North Texas? Well, if this trend continues, the odds look good. This new made-to-order concept brings kebabs, serve Asian Mediterranean barbecue to Farmers Branch, a first in the Dallas area.
There are customers who will be going to Houston also to have this food. And so
We'll see that in about 30
I hope no
to
one heard that,
Yeah.
because that is going to be a surprise later.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you like barbecue, stick around.
That was the big announcement. So unfortunately, I'm presenting Fresh Point Open Storage, not a barbecue place. So the application in front of you tonight is for Fresh Point Open Storage, SUP. The address is 4721 Simonton Road. It's about a 10.66 acre platted lot, zoned light industrial. The existing building is about 210,000 square feet, the Fresh Point Warehouse Distribution Facility. There is currently about 56,000 square foot open storage already existing. The existing open storage is legal non-conforming because it does not meet certain zoning ordinance requirements for open storage, which is it has to be restricted to the rear half of the lot, it has to be screened from public view, and also it cannot be more than 15% of the building square footage without approval of an SUP. So this is the detailed site plan on your screen, as well as a snapshot of the proposed masonry screening as well as landscaping screening as part of this application. So the applicant is proposing to demo an existing 26,000 portion of the building and add that portion, this blue shaded area on the plan, to their existing open storage space. And they're also proposing to add a 8-foot tall solid masonry screening wall all along Simonton Road, as well as extend it for another 72 feet along the western property line, and add 7 crepe myrtles to provide some additional screening or landscape screening. Given this addition to their existing open storage will increase their open storage percentage from 27% to about 45%. So they are now required to apply and get approval of the specific use permit. From a comprehensive plan recommendation standpoint, this is within the city's east side future land use map community mixed use district. The district recommends a mixed use office, hotel, retail uses, as well as transition from high intensity farm and use to lesser intensity farm and use. And some of the existing light industrial uses can be compatible and complementary. Fresh Point is a long operating business, and surrounding land uses are largely warehouse and industrial in nature. So this SUP request is consistent with the plan recommendation. And the way we are looking at this SUP application is this is in the direction, in the right direction, because it's incremental improvement of the property, as most of the properties in this area, or at least the ones that have open storage, are mostly currently non-conforming. So we are slowly bringing these properties into compliance and adding screening and improving aesthetics. Another big advantage with this SUP is that by expanding their open storage area or that parking area towards the west of the building, they're able to accommodate more truck, their existing fleet of vehicles, as well as more truck on their property itself, and that would reduce the congestion on Simonton Road as well. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application on September 13th and recommended unanimous approval. That concludes my presentation, and we have the applicant present here tonight if you have any question for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Sen. Terry, since this is your district, I'll let you go first.
Thank you, Mayor. I would urge the council to approve this ordinance. Right now, we have an issue with trailers being parked on the street. These are not small trailers. These are semi-trailers that are being parked on the street. Oftentimes, there's at least 2 fire hydrants that are on Simonton that the trailers park in front of. They continuously ignore the fact that fire hydrants are there. But so I see this as an opportunity to help get some of those vehicles off the street. So I would encourage everybody to vote for this and at least help clean up the street a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Does anyone have any comments or questions for the applicant?
I just have a quick comment. I think that one of the things that I think we're seeing now with the ripple effect, and I agree with you, Councilmember Lynn, the fact that as we're getting some more of these newer applicants being able to provide the aesthetics that are needed in this area, I think is really integral and important. And so, just want to thank you and the applicant for their effort to make sure that they add the myrtles and all of that to make sure that we're able to screen properly. So I look forward to seeing more of these so we can really revamp the area because it is much needed.
Thank you. Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. We don't have anyone signed up to speak. So seeing that, I will look for, I guess, someone to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and approve ordinance number 3704.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lynn. Second by Councilmember Rotano. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is our regular agenda items. K1, consider adopting ordinance number 3708, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 56, the Property Maintenance Code, to include a new exemption for parcels used for cropping purposes from certain mowing and outside storage requirements of Chapter 56 and take appropriate action. Mr. Bonanno.
Good evening.
Good evening. Didn't want to leave you hanging there.
Thank you. I'm sorry? No, I'm happy to taste test anything you have, but talk about it is probably not my not my area. Let's see here. Okay, what I have for you today is, as you know, we approved the Property Maintenance Code, the new Property Maintenance Code, Chapter 56, on August 3rd of this year. And since the approval of Chapter 56, a new discussion has started with respect to possibly loosening regulations a little bit with respect to mowing on genuinely agriculturally used properties. And after some discussion, we've come to, I should say you have come to some proposed amendments to Chapter 56 that we'll go over briefly now. The Chapter 56, Section 51 talks about vegetation, and that's where we find the mowing requirements. And as we know, our city prevents any grass or weeds from growing taller than 8 inches. Well, in this particular instance, what is being proposed, is that 8-inch requirement be skipped, I guess, or passed on in the event that an agricultural use is on a property, along with several other criteria. And so I just want to make sure that you're familiar with 5651A, which is where the 8-inch regulation comes from. And then further down, we're going to refer to it in a few minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew what that was. So one of the first changes was to identify what crops actually are, to define what crops are. The definition you see was given to us mainly by our legal department. It was pulled from the Department of Agriculture. And so they decided that was the best way to go, and that's the definition you see there. Plant materials produced for human food, animal feed, planting seed, or fiber. Below that, now that we have a definition for what crops are, the maintenance of crops, 5653, would be inserted into the law. And essentially, in order to get the mowing exemption that's being proposed, you have to check a few boxes, and they're listed there. So the first box is that the vegetation consists of a homogeneous crop, meaning it's all the same. Okay. The second checkbox would be that you have a valid agricultural exemption through the county, and we can tell which properties have that exemption on the county's website. Mr. Cox was also nice enough to prepare a map, which you should all have, and I'm happy to pull up for you, with all of the properties that would be affected by this. I believe we're looking at 13 of 14 properties in the entire city that would be affected, and there's only at the moment 8 different owners. So that's the group that would be impacted by this. A limitation that was put on the height of the crop would be 4 feet. So regardless of what you're growing and cropping, 4 feet is the proposed cap. And if you can check those boxes, then item 4 kicks in a bit of the exemption, which states that, to paraphrase it a bit, because it's a lot to read, you only have to mow a 20-foot band around your property. That is, the 20-foot band would still apply to the 8-inch requirement. The rest of the lot would be exempt from 5651, the paragraph I showed you earlier. It is specifically only exempt for that one regulation. These properties are not exempt, would not be exempt for anything else. Trash, view obstructions, anything health and safety or nuisance related, those all still apply. So this is a very specific exemption for a very specific piece of land, okay? And there is one line here, I just want to make sure everyone understands that if you have if you have a piece of land, you have to mow this 20-foot band or perimeter around it. But if you have two pieces of land, or more than one, I should say, that are owned by the same person, they do not have to mow a band around this and a band around this. They just go around everything they own. And of course, we know the band is meant to act as a fire barrier, just in case fire were to appear, a critter barrier, let's keep the critters away from nearby properties, and so on. So that's the purpose of the band. When we deal with cropping, especially hay, the end result of a farmer's process or a cropper's process are hay bales. And we've all seen those, I'm sure. And so what needs to happen is, if we are going to allow some exemptions for these kinds of activities, and the baling of hay in particular, then an exemption also needs to be added for in the outside storage ordinance, because as it stands now, leaving hay bales outside is not allowed. They are not on the list of exempted items. So we need to add an exemption for hay bales to give the cropper time to remove them. So they would be exempt for that time period, and then after that time period, they would become a violation if they're still there. So that would also encourage these property owners to make sure they remove their material as soon as possible. So there you see a little bit of an explanation. We already have 20 items on the exempt list, so this would be a 21st item. And then this is the actual exemption that would be added, item 21. Okay, hay bales located on the property for up to 7 days would be exempt. Okay. And these are just some photos here of some lots that I want to make sure that it's clear what a maintained lot versus an unmaintained lot looks like. What we have here is a freshly cut bale of hay. This is what we would be looking for when crops are eventually cut, and we would expect these to leave in 7 days. These photos are examples of an unmaintained lot. You can see that it was cut once and baled, and then grass and weeds were allowed to grow up on this particular lot. This is actually a lot in our town. These photos were taken by me, and some of the grass and weeds on this lot, which is very large, they're taller than I am. They're over 6 feet tall. And so, again, just a reminder that the exemption only applies to that 4-foot cap as it's proposed now. Once you cross the line into 4 foot 1 inches, you're in violation, you lose the exemption. And then my office could potentially take enforcement action, citations, mowing, and so on. So it would just become like any other lot again. So with that, that's really it. I know you folks are used to longer presentations from me, but I got this one down to 9 slides. So is there anything I can do to help answer any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bonanno. Councilman Rotano, any questions?
No, I just want to thank you for all the work that you did. My understanding is, the information that we've been seeing is you took research from all other cities to try to figure out what works best for our city based on our needs. And so just want to thank you for your research and for us to be able to provide a solution to ensure that our farmers here in our community are able to do the work that they need to do. So thank you so much. No questions.
Councilman Driscoll.
I'd just like to also thank you, Mr. Bonanno. I know this has been an issue that we've discussed quite a bit on council. I think this is a very reasonable solution and change to the Code 56, Section 56. And I have some knowledge also of agriculture, and the value of the hay is when it's fresh and not when it's sitting there and it's being overgrown and beginning to decay with weather and rain and all of that. And I think this is a reasonable solution to our situation. And we have very little, kind of open acreage in Farmers Branch anyway. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you so much, Leo. I appreciate your team's hard work on this. I know this has been a challenge over the past several months as you are, walking that fine line of trying to give property owners a chance to enjoy and utilize their properties as they want to and as they see fit, as it is personally owned, and at the same time trying to accommodate residents and neighbors in the city as a whole. So I appreciate the hard work and the fact that you took so much time and effort to really research and find out, what can we do to compromise and come to some kind of understanding for everyone involved, and I appreciate that. So,
Councilmember Lynn.
Unfortunately, I don't have the kudos that everybody else shares here this evening, and I think you expected that. You sent out a letter on October 4th to the holders of ag exemptions in the city, stating the 20-foot border and 4-foot height. Where did you come up with that information? Who authorized that?
Yeah, actually, this ordinance was not like the original Chapter 56. I was in several meetings with you and other staff, and then what I basically did was take notes based on conversations, and I believe that the language you're looking at tonight was created between the city manager's office and the city attorney. So I actually did not have as much involvement with this language as I did the last time around, so I may not be the person to answer that.
Okay, well, I don't remember an overwhelming consensus when we did have discussion on this item as coming up with these particular specs, but nevertheless, I think that this is too restrictive, in my opinion. I think a 15-foot border is adequate, and regarding crops, it's not up to us to legislate what somebody can and can't plant on their property. It's not up to us to determine whether whatever is baled is good or not to feed to livestock or whatever they do with it. That's not what we're here for. Many crops that are planted on agricultural property, whether it be corn, wheat, hay, often sunflower seeds can grow to 6 feet tall. So I think 4 feet, in my mind, is too restrictive. And so 6 foot is where I see myself falling on this in order to allow adequate farming of agricultural property. So 6 foot, 15 foot, and then in regards to removing the baled product once it's baled, well, if it's raining, that could hamper getting equipment in there to get the baled product out and whatnot. I would be more inclined to support a 21-day allowance for that. As we sit here and talk about this, I have high grass and weeds in homes in District 4 that haven't been addressed. There are high grass and weeds in homes at residences in other council districts that haven't been addressed. There's other issues, leaning fences and whatnot, that haven't been addressed, and yet we keep coming back to all this and trying to make it more restrictive at one time. Now we're sort of backpedaling here. But I don't know why we're trying to be so punitive to the people that are undertaking this type of operation. They will, in time, be developed out of business in this city, because as the property owners are developing the property, there's going to be less and less of agricultural exempt property because it's going to be developed for whatever use. So I am asking council to think a little bit broader on this for the short time that we have these particular properties on the books, and support a 6-foot height, 15-foot border and a 21-day removal period in order to be more reasonable to everybody that's involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor. I will extend kudos to you, Leo. I appreciate all the work that you and your staff have done. We find ourselves in an issue now where we have at least attempted, in my opinion, to meet halfway or come to a compromise that allows the agricultural property owners to work on their and take advantage of their properties. So I think based on what we have seen, we've not seen any alfalfa or corn or any other type of product being grown. We've seen grasses being baled for hay. Let's be specific on what we've seen. And I think this particular ordinance, as discussed by the entire council numerous times, coming to those particular numbers, Terry, and I'm sorry, we came up with those numbers as a council in our discussion and led that over to the city manager in order for the attorneys to come up with the ordinance. So I know you were present, I know you were part of those discussions, and we agreed as a group that 20 feet was appropriate. The 48 inches, correct me if I'm wrong, Leo, also comes into the Chapter 56 ordinance as the mandatory or the top height available before action has to be taken all across the city. So we're applying that particular height to this particular set of situations, and you're correct, there's 13 or 14 properties. They're all on the west side at this moment holding those ag exemptions. And so there is a combination of the property owners holding the ag exemptions and then the property owners having other third parties take care of their property, taking advantage of the hay and material growing on there. So it's a complicated situation. I think we've reached a plausible and amenable, I think, solution to this. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. You can go, and then I'm going to go back through.
Thank you. Mr. Bonanno, you sent out approximately 2 weeks ago notices to all the property owners with ag exemptions, letting them know about these potential changes, correct?
Yes.
And how many have you heard back from that had a concern or were against this?
None.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go back through one more time before I recognize the public for public comments. Councilmember Rotano, do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. And actually, I was going to ask that very question because I know we did send something out, and I heard that we did not receive any responses. Do you have the map that you could pull up on where these are?
Sure.
I just want to make. I have a point of clarification, and it goes back to kind of I think what Councilmember Merritt advised. So point of clarification: these are all the properties that currently hold an exemption, correct?
An agricultural exemption.
Agricultural exemption, yes. All of these properties are on the west side.
Yes.
And I know you've visited all of these properties multiple times. Just for point of clarification, have you seen any other crop other than the high grass and hay that has been discussed previously?
No.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Driscoll.
I stated my views before, and I stick by them. And just like to reiterate what Councilmember Merritt also said, we discussed this collectively as a body and approved these changes to the ordinance. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
I don't think I can add anything else to this topic that seems to affect a very, very, very small percentage of properties in this city. And I think it was fair, and considering that we had so much discussion on 8 inches versus 12 inches on grass, on residential grass, I think we extended even more consideration to our ag and farmer residents. So I stick by where we stood.
Councilmember Lynn.
No further comments.
Councilmember Merritt. In one question from me, just as a point of clarification, these changes will in no way impact the current agricultural exemptions that are on the properties?
Are you speaking about tax-wise?
Yep.
Yeah, no, they have nothing to do with that.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 3 people signed up to speak. First up is Darsit Bhakta. Name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Darsit Bhakta. I represent the Hampton Inn and Suites, 1570 Mar-a-Lago Boulevard. So I guess along the lines of this agricultural use, ag exemption, my frustration is the parcels next to me, south of 1570 Mar-a-Lago, west of me at 1570 Mar-a-Lago, northwest of me at 1570 Mar-a-Lago. There's no alfalfa, corn, you name it. It's been weeds out to here. I've made, I don't know, 20 probably calls to the city in the past year we've been open, like, hey, is something gonna be done? I mean, I'm just asking for it to be mowed, okay? It costs maybe $500 to get the wide tractors out there. There's 3 outside doing nothing, right? We can get them to mow it, right? So if we're paying occupancy taxes, there's 75 to 100K in occupancy taxes in that intersection alone. We don't have $500 to have at least that mowed and then back charge the landowners, because they're obviously not doing anything. And you can call 5 million times and nothing's gonna get, what's a $351 fine a year later? It doesn't help us. I've got guests that complain about, hey, why is there, mouse baits everywhere? Because I don't want rats and all that stuff around us. I mean, it affects me as a business. I take care of my property. So I'm just asking a simple, can they not maintain their lots? And the hay's been out there for months. And I think the whole area, those areas have been mowed one time this whole year. It's October 19th. So is it too much to ask to have them maintain their lots every couple of months? I don't know. If not, why can't we just take it out of the occupancy tax and then get it back from them later? I think, what am I asking? Is it too much? I mean, it's a couple $100 in the realm of things. Because obviously the landowner's not doing anything. And I get it that Pilar might be too big to fail, but what about the little guy like me? Okay, so if we're all in, I mean, the city's logo there, that's not what it looks like around my business. It's complete opposite of that logo. So, and then along that stretch, it's that median of Luna and 635. I think I've asked this too. We don't have $500 somewhere from occupancy taxes to maintain that median. I mean, there's growth everywhere along that stretch, half a mile south, half a mile north. And we can't maintain that median somehow. I mean, there's gotta be a way. $500 out of the thousands in occupancy taxes just from the hotels in that area, let alone the inflated property values from the homes and the businesses in that area. So my beef's been a little bit more of that whole area being maintained and not someone getting by on a asterisk of an ag exemption. So anyways, I guess my time's up. But that's where I'm coming from, and I'd like that area better maintained.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is James Lockridge. Name and address, please.
James Lockridge, 2053 Willowwood Drive, Grapevine, Texas. Guys, I'd like to thank y'all all for taking the time to try to come up with a solution for us. There's 2 key points that y'all don't understand. I've been here since 1994 farming before that land was even developed. And if you look at Leo's map, he left off quite a few areas that are in ag exemption, and they have not been marked on the map. So according to the state law and a federal law, which I would ask that before y'all pass any kind of ordinance tonight, is to stop, let us get a chance to call the Texas Farm Bureau for Dallas County or Austin to come in. Let us call the Ag Commissioner of Texas and the federal Ag Commissioner to come in, and let's try to see what they have to say. Farming was here long before any of y'all, long before. I'm grandfathered in, so any law that you place into effect today, according to the Texas Agricultural Law, Section 251, you might want to read. I'm grandfathered in. I don't have to abide by any law from that was passed on this subject as of today because I am grandfathered in, which I'm surprised your attorney did not find that under the Texas agricultural law. It's also a state law. Also, there's pastures all the way around me that I will testify today that are in Rotano's section that are 8 foot tall. They have pallets and pallets and pallets stacked on them, piles of dirt stacked on them, concrete, rebar. Now, the reason why Rotano doesn't want to do anything about this property is because the city of Farmers Branch receives a kickback from this developer. Now, that land is not zoned agricultural. It's not been zoned agricultural for years. The property has not been mowed in 3 years. Not one time has it been mowed. So I feel like today we need to figure out how to come to a resolution, or I'm going to have to take the next action. And that's as nice as I can be about it. And I appreciate y'all working hard on it. But your law is not going to work for the Texas farmer or ranchers. We do the best we can. And same way with the Merritt. I didn't move hay bales this year for one reason only, because that's an agricultural crop. Hay bales are usually stacked in the corner in rows of 20 or 10. If you pack 500 round bales into one spot and it lights on fire, your fire department will be there for 2 to 3 months trying to put these hay bales out. So it's simple to go ahead and put the hay bales 10, 20 at a time scattered all over the field. Now, I didn't pick mine up this time because I waited until today. And we are cutting and baling as we speak in Farmers Branch. My crops are less than 4 foot tall, and I'm not making any hay. I have literally, my crops, because I'm trying to abide, have deplenished.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nancy Higgs. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Nancy Higgs, and I live at 11701 Mar-a-Lago Boulevard. I live in the Evergreen Apartments. We are across the street. The hay bales are taller than I am, and the grass is taller than I am. People that take their pets walking won't even go over there because of what comes out. Snakes, rats, and all this kind of stuff, and it's not safe. And you've got all of Mar-a-Lago, all right there is all apartment complexes that people take their pets walking. It's not safe. And I was told that that is private property. There is no sign on that property over there that says private property. It says land for sale. So if people want to go walking around, which we are allowed to do, we should be able to and not have to worry about that. And no, the bales of hay are taller than I am, and the grass that has grown from what they've not mowed is taller than that. So I would appreciate it if y'all would please do something about it, because it's getting very upsetting, and it's embarrassing for us and when our friends come to see it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any other comments at this time?
Mayor, I have one, and this is, again, point of clarification. Charles, did we call the Ag Commission to explain exactly what we were wanting to do, to get their comments, to see if there were any concerns, and to see, if we were in our right to do and make these changes?
Actually, they called us. They had received a report. So they called us. We explained the proposed changes. They did not express a concern.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I move to approve ordinance number 3708 as presented. Second. I have a second by Councilmember Rotano. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Councilmember Lynn's the dissenter on that one. Next up will be the new K2. Hold off on that barbecue just yet. We have one other thing to address. I-7, consider approving ordinance number 3705, amending the Code of Ordinances, amending in its entirety Chapter 66, solid waste, relating to the regulation of the collection and disposal of solid waste and recyclable materials, and take appropriate action. Mr. Davis.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, this item was on consent. Y'all pulled off to have further discussions. Do you want me to run through a quick synopsis, or?
What do you want to discuss here today?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to have a discussion on this because as it stood when we were first sold the recycling bins by Councilman Norwood and Baumgartner way back when, we were told that we would never have to look at them, that they would always be screened, kept backyard, kept garage, whatever. Recently, this council voted to rescind that requirement. And at the same time, they've also approved allowing residential trash bins in addition to the recycling bins. And so, if you haven't driven any street in Farmers Branch, you'd be sort of blind not to see blue bins sitting out in the open on pretty much every street in this city at some house at some point or another. And that's my problem, because we were promised one thing at the get-go, and now it's evolved to something else. And that doesn't sit well with residents. And I don't know how many calls code enforcement gets regarding recycling bins specific. I don't know how many calls any other council representative gets regarding recycling bins and now trash bins specific, but I get them. I get quite a few of them, and I have for years. So it's really hard for me to approve anything that is going to perpetuate seeing those things out in the open, not screened. In fact, just today, Valley View and Webb Chapel, it's been there for a week on the front porch of a house, blue bin. And this was a topic of discussion at my town hall that I had. It's been a constant irritation for a lot of folks, and so I don't know if I'm spinning my wheels here talking about this because of the actions that this council has already taken, but I at least wanted to have that discussion.
Understood.
And make sure that that point of view was communicated.
Understood, sir. And so Chapter 66 is in conflict with the property maintenance code in terms of cart screening. So one of the changes that's in the solid waste ordinance now is to bring that so that the two mirror. We don't have conflicting ordinances. So what Terry's brought up is, that's why it's one of the items that's in here. And we'll have some new regulations for commercial collection, which we've had some issues with too. Those are the two biggest things that are in there.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments as it relates to this item? Councilmember Williams.
I would just say, I'm sorry that that's been your experience. That has not been mine, and not in my district. So we just had our National Night Out, and of the 6 National Night Out parties that I attended, they were overwhelmingly supportive of both the recycling bins and the trash bins. So I know that this ordinance really doesn't have anything to do with that other than to make it compliant, because we were having one rule for one group and another ordinance for another. So I know that this is just a kind of a cleanup, but I did want to speak on behalf of those residents who are very supportive and very excited about this program, that that's been my experience.
Councilmember Lynn.
I think you may have misunderstood me. The people that engage with me, they're not against the program. They like the program. They want others to be respectful of the way they're supposed to store and keep their bins or their carts, whether it be a recycling cart or a trash cart. That's it. And now, as of a month, 2 months ago, we've made it easier for those things to be out on the street and be visible by eliminating the screening requirement. Yes, you did.
Mayor, if I may, my
Hold
understanding.
on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember Lynn, are you done? Yes. Okay. Councilmember Rotano?
Thank you. Sorry about that, Councilmember Lynn. My understanding is that they still have to be, they cannot be in front of your property. They still have to be on the side or in the back, but they just can't be in front of the property, correct?
Correct me if I get this wrong.
Leo. Yeah.
If they're in front of your house, they have to be screened, correct? If you
Yes.
put them in the very front of your house, they got to be
Exactly.
screened.
Yes.
If you have them behind the front facade, what's the proper term you've used there?
Side yard.
Okay.
Side yard, okay.
Side yard. If it's in the side yard, then they can be
Okay.
visible in the side yard.
Okay, so I honestly think, and this is something that we've talked about, when we talked about code in and of itself, I think it's just a matter of educating our neighbors. And so I think that, I think we just need to make sure that all of us, even council, when we have our town halls, just to make sure that we advise that, please make sure that you don't leave in the front. If you do, put them on the side. Because I will say, it's also sometimes very difficult to even pay for the $100 to provide a screening. I mean, some of our folks are living paycheck to paycheck. And so I do think that there may be a nuisance in some areas where they do leave them in front, but I honestly think it's a neighborly conversation to have with our neighbors to say, hey, you know what? I don't know if you knew this, but you need to put it on the side. And if you need help, let me help you. I think we've lost it on ourselves to just have a conversation with our neighbors. So I think I would encourage us to just provide a little more education when we can, whether it's at National Night Out or whether it's, at our town halls or community meetings. But I do think if we just have that conversation with folks, they'll understand and they'll put it on the side and whatnot. But anyhow, I just wanted clarification on that piece because I think we made that in the ordinance as well. So thank you, Leo.
Thank you. We don't have anyone signed up to speak to this item. And if there are no other comments or questions, this item is marked for action. So,
Mayor, I move to approve Ordinance 3705 as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Rotano. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Lone dissenter. Councilmember Lynn. Next is K2, receive a third quarter economic development update. Finally.
Well, y'all already saw some of it, so you're going to have to be re-surprised.
Construction is in high gear here in Farmers Branch, renovating homes with incentives from the city and pumping up the local economy at the same time. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Farmers Branch Economic Development Update for the third quarter of 2021. I'm Jeff Brady, coming to you today from the site of one of our latest demo rebuild projects, which partners with homeowners and builders to rebuild existing properties and enhance Farmers Branch neighborhoods. The latest project is underway here at 14310 Valley High Circle near Brookhaven Country Club. The existing home was removed and the new custom two-story single-family home will be finished soon, improving property values for every neighboring lot. It has 7-inch engineered white oak hardwood floors, a floor-to-ceiling staircase, and Casablanca quartzite in the kitchen. In fact, the Farmers Branch Demo Rebuild Program recently celebrated its 100th property rebuilt in a city neighborhood. It's a success story providing residents property tax rebates and sometimes cash grants for new single-family construction. It's a unique win-win program for the city, residents, and builders.
I think it was a very clever idea by council and the Economic Development Department to establish this program, so much so that we've seen other cities adopt a similar program. Right now, we're only active in the Farmers Branch Demo Rebuild Program as we're a Farmers Branch-based company. But for us, it's been a tremendous advantage for us to help kind of kickstart some of the demo rebuilds that we've got in the area. And having this program has absolutely been a benefit not only to us, but to our future homeowners. Well, I think any point in time you can give some of our homeowners and our citizens the chance to have a tax incentive to be able to move back into the area to kind of kickstart things. That's really been a point that's been a positive for us. So there's a trickle-down effect, and all of these property values down the street are going to improve because of this house and the next house down the way, and you'll see it in the sales price whenever they are posted for sale.
The demo rebuild incentive levels are determined based on the Dallas Central Appraisal District's listed improvement value of the original home. The property tax rebate is an economic development grant equal to 100% of the difference between the property taxes assessed on the new property and the old one. It's based on the structure only, not the land value. Sometimes a cash grant is also available, usually issued in 2 payments, half after the demolition of the old home and the rest when the certificate of occupancy is issued for the new one.
The city stepped in to be the catalyst for new construction with the program, and we continue to this day to partner with residents that want to build new homes and transition out of the older homes. Plus, the new increment after the rebate rolls off goes into the general fund, and the entire city benefits because it goes into the public works budget, it goes into all of the budgets that help our streets, that help the maintenance with drainage. All sorts of projects benefit from the demo rebuild new increment. We have several custom home builders in the city. Bonneau Homes and Cusick Custom Homes are just a few of the ones that we routinely see as applicants for the program, and we have many others, but we're just welcoming to all new builders too that are looking for a small incentive to just get a project going.
Another highlight of 2021, Farmers Branch wins more top dining destinations, further distinguishing our city in the diversity and quality of restaurant offerings. Most recently, BK Khan's Indo-Pac Barbecue will open on the city's east side, the 3rd barbecue operator in this part of town. So will Farmers Branch become the newest barbecue capital of North Texas? Well, if this trend continues, the odds look good. This new made-to-order concept brings kebab-style, quick-serve Asian Mediterranean barbecue to Farmers Branch, a first in the Dallas area.
There are customers who has been going to Houston also to have this food, and so we thought, why not have one in Dallas also? Every order is made to order, freshly on skewers, on a flame grill, and it's all barbecued on a flame, whether you order the chicken, beef, lamb, it's all on the skewers. You have a choice of mild, hot, or extra hot. So we can make that into 3 different classes there. All the spices, which we don't buy it outside. All the spices are homemade. We make it here. Even the yogurt and the bread we make, no one else makes those bread.
It's another feather in the cap of our Economic and Tourism Department, attracting new investments to Farmers Branch, and more specifically to this East Side Shopping Center, Branch Park, a 13-acre mixed-use center at Midway and Alpha.
We saw an opportunity to take this 13-acre palette that we had, and we've seen a transformation here along this Midway corridor. I know they've changed to the entertainment district, and that we wanted to align our tenant roster and the park with that for the community. So we have focused on trying to align uses in terms of bringing in restaurants, bringing in the right furniture stores, more medical. So the restaurant here and the BK Khan's concept, they're going to pull the late daytime lunch traffic from everything that's already here. But because of the quality of their food and the reputation, that they're going to be bringing in customers from all over DFW at night, from their core demographic. And that's what we were excited to have, to bring that energy at night that somewhat Branch Park was lacking.
Our east side of town, we really have 3 good barbecue concepts. We have Crossbuck that will be opening soon. We have Cadillac Barbecue that everybody knows is the good Wagyu beef. And now we'll have BK Khan's, which is a Indian Pakistani flavor barbecue. So it's kind of becoming a little food tourism place for barbecue.
Just a few miles away, builder-developer JPI has completed Jefferson East Branch and Jefferson Gallery House, 2 major multifamily projects along Inwood Corridor with more than 700 units offering modern amenities. Jefferson East boasts 10-foot ceilings, double-wide sinks, and a deluxe 5th-story lounge with great views of the tollway.
A lot of the decision going into the location was just the superior access. It's no south, no more north. You have equal access to areas that are up and coming like Prosper, Plano, and Frisco, while being still central to Dallas, about 10 minutes out. So I've been on around 8 of their different projects thus far, and just from what I've seen in the past, there has been nothing like this building specifically or the one across the street from it. And nor the demand for a property thus quickly has just been insane. I think the influx to Texas from other states has a lot to do with that as well, and I think that the Farmers Branch area has a ton to offer in this market specifically.
To say last year was a struggle for all cities is, of course, an understatement. But indications are that this year will see a strong rebound, particularly here in Farmers Branch. And our popular Demo Rebuild initiative is just one example of how 2021 is shaping up to be a big win for builders, residents, and the city's ledger.
This quarter's update is really hit on most sectors. It's a multifamily community along the tollway with a Class A multifamily opportunities. You have a brand new restaurant opening up on the Midway corridor, and you have continued signs of custom home building going on in the central area. So really all residents benefit from the increased tax base that goes to the general fund and benefits all city services. And so we see some signs of life. We can't say it's an absolute normal year yet, but it is signs of hope for us.
And that'll do it for the Farmers Branch Economic Development Update for the third quarter of 2021. Remember, your economic development team is working hard with our construction and restaurant partners to build back after last year, and the indicators are good that this year is seeing strong growth. We'll be back in a few months with a look at the fourth quarter of 2021. Until then, I'm Jeff Brady. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Construction is in high gear here in Farmers Branch, enhancing homes. Whoops.
The Demo Rebuild program turns 100 this month.
What? How much? Good that this year is already seeing strong growth.
And I believe the city I don't know. Why did we do it?
Why did we do it? With our construct.
Should I really say that? Okay. So we don't get it perfect every time, so. But anyway, that is our third quarter update, and I'd like to thank Jeff Brady because he makes things look very professional, and I think it's a great video. Thanks to him. He curates it and puts it all together.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And our departments. They make it look very easy. She's pretty. We'll keep her around. We'll see. We'll see about it. She doesn't do that for a living, you know. She's not a talk show host, but we'll keep her around.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the updates. Wonderful to see all the amazing things going on in Farmers Branch. We don't have any action to take out of executive session. One update for council. We do not have a council meeting next Tuesday, just given the limited number of items that we had on the agenda. So we'll be, do not. But we do need to be here at 3 o'clock because we're going through the new training on the voting system that we'll all be using up here. So I will see y'all then. But otherwise, with no other business to conduct, we will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:17 p.m. Thank you.